Yes. Hi, everybody. Oh my God, this room is gorgeous. I want to start how I start almost everything, which is with gratitude. I want to thank all of the people that fed us today. Thank you. That's super, super important. Another thing I want to start off with is thanking Yvette. Her remarks, her legacy, that suit, I mean, amazing, right? The impact. Thank you, Yvette. And before I really get into it, I want to acknowledge something. I'm not wearing heels. I can't, and I rarely do. I am, however, firmly grounded on my heels today. I'm wearing a very special pair of shoes. They're sneakers. But the back of my sneakers say, para mi familia, for my family. And I wear them on moments like this, where I have to have my heels grounded on earth, and grounded in who I am, and grounded in where I come from, and thinking about my legacy and my sense of duty and responsibility. So that's why I'm in sneakers. Thank you. I also really want to double down on thanking this organization for all that work. Hearing the stories of the people that we saw on that video, I got a chance to meet our scholarship recipients. I watched a video of a young lady sewing a placenta. She is going to change our futures. The young ladies at these tables are transformational leaders today, and we are so grateful because the future that you are building, we will all benefit from. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so incredibly inspired by everyone here, by the people I've met at the table, by the folks that I've gotten to meet through this organization. So many trailblazers, innovators, and of course, change makers. It's a perfect theme for this year's lunch. And, don't get me wrong. I feel like for many of us, change is scary. Change can be pretty uncomfortable, and often it's pretty messy. And sometimes it's change you can't control. It's change that happens to you. Change can be unpredictable. It's the change of a sudden loss of a job, of a loved one, a broken relationship, natural disasters. We can't do anything about that. But then there's also the change that happens because of you, the change that you control, and the change that you are making every day on other people's lives. I think it's really easy to only think about that change you can't control, which is honestly very normal. We are all, as humans, hardwired to avoid change. Literally hardwired. There's a part of our brain, the amygdala, that interprets change as a threat. And we react with fear, fight, or flight. In order to really embrace that change, you have to rewire your brain. That is a lot of work, but it's entirely possible, and everyone in this room is doing it every day. And you know what? To be a change maker, you have to be a little bit rebellious. And I know a thing or two about that. I think for a lot of us, it starts at a pretty young age. I know it happened for me. I grew up in Mexico, in a relatively conservative household, and being a woman was such a marker. It was my first identity, my primary identity, and an identity that I really struggled with. One that felt like it defined me before I had a chance to define myself. So I'm going to tell you this story about my mom. My mom has a third grade education. My mom is one of the many folks that probably at some point in her life picked the fruit and the vegetables and the food that we all eat. But she also sewed a lot. And growing up, she made really cute little skirts for me, and she made curtains and a whole host of things. And so I asked her one day, I was like, why did you learn to sew? And not missing a beat, She looked at me and said, "La pinche necesidad." And for those that don't speak Spanish, that's a very explicit way of saying because I needed to. She didn't have a choice. She had to sew. She wanted curtains. She had to make them. I needed clothes. She had to help make them. And so she's also the oldest of 8. I met someone today that's the oldest of 9, 10, I believe. And so I understand that oldest daughter. I empathize with that oldest in the family, the one that carries. She was a second mom. She didn't have the traditional childhood that I got to have, that many of us had to have. And so anytime I'm facing a challenge or I feel stuck or I want to give up, I think of la pinche necesidad. And so you have to push. Y'all can say it too, please. And so that rebellion in me was pretty strong. And so as I was finishing up high school, I really wanted to chart a different path for myself. I wanted something different. I didn't know what I wanted. I just know what I didn't want. And that took me to saying to my mom, I'm an only child, by the way, so just picture all of the cultural dynamics at play. And I said, I don't want to live here anymore. I want to go to college in the States. And so after a lot of conversations that mostly went one way, she said, sure, fine, but you have to go where you have family. And the only place in the United States where I had family was a small city called Rock Island, Illinois. For those of you that haven't had the pleasure of visiting, it's about 175 miles west of Chicago. It's closer to Iowa, Wisconsin, and Missouri than it is to Chicago. But still, I went. I was on my way. I was like, absolutely. I was rewiring my brain with every move, right? Every journey, every conversation, every challenge. I was trying to change so many things. But my time at Augustana College turned out to be more formative, retrospectively, than I would have ever imagined. It opened my eyes to so many things that you could do and you could be, especially in America. I grew up with mostly 3 careers: lawyer, teacher, doctor, if you didn't count wife as a career. And I was exposed not just to so many other things that I could be, I was also exposed to an incredibly vibrant and dynamic civil society of community organizers, of civil servants, of nonprofit organizations that were all committed to lifting up voices, to bettering their communities, to bettering their neighborhoods. At the time when I was growing up in Mexico, I didn't see much of that. This was the first time I saw this whole other part of civic society coming together to really grow and change community. And that really empowered me to develop a personal sense of agency, a personal sense of I have control, I have options, I have choice, and I have opportunity. And so that sense that you can take charge, there's a before and after in my life. And that really was when that rewiring was like firing on all cylinders. So much so that I decided I'm going to also work for one of these nonprofits. I was building playgrounds for an awesome organization. But let me translate the conversation that I had with my mom, right? I was like, Mom, I got this awesome job. I'm traveling all over. I'm building playgrounds. It's so great. Her response, ¿Eres albañil? Like, are you a day laborer, right? Like, what are you doing? The gulf that existed and still does sometimes is one that is not lost on me to all my Latina, all my first generation, all my cultural change makers. That you have to make space for holding on to those things that made you and that you love and your culture, while also breaking barriers to make new. to do different. That is a tension that we have to live in and get comfortable in. And that was the first of many. So fast forward, I'm having lunch with an amazing mentor of mine, and I'm telling her that I'm ready for change, that I'd really love to dig deeper into how we make change in our society. And I said, government, politics, that's for me. She looks at me and she says, okay, do you have time to talk to someone right now? And just like that, in that moment, I had a day of impromptu interview. Next thing you know, I am the Deputy Chief of Staff for Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, the first Black woman elected to that office. Then I served for Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, also the first Black woman in that office. What wasn't shared in my bio is how infrequently I washed my hair when I worked in that job, because the demands were such. But when I reflect on those things, I can look at that in two ways. I can look at that as I was really lucky. Or I can think about, and that's true, but I can also think about that as change that happened to me because of me, because of the work that I had put in, because of the preparation that I put in, because of how hard I tried every day. Because even when I would come home, and I'd sit on my stairs and I'd cry because it was hard. And sometimes people were mean. I got up the next day and did it better than the day before. Because as a Latina, as an immigrant, as someone that refuses to let her mom win, I cannot fail. La pinche necesidad means that I get up and I win. So I think about that. I think about how lucky, but how hard I've worked to get here. And so I think about the industry I work in now, where less than 5% of US commercial pilots are women. In fact, the next time you're on a plane and you hear, this is your captain speaking on an airline, there is a 1% chance that that person, that voice, is a Latina. Low representation for women isn't unique to pilots. It isn't unique to the aviation industry. Frankly, it's not unique to many industries, if any at all. What I'm here to say as well is that I'm a change maker, and I get to work for a place that is an incredible change maker. United Airlines puts their money where their mouth is. We walk the talk and we talk the walk, and we do it all hand in glove. Now let me also be abundantly clear. We have the highest standards in our hiring, no exceptions. When it comes to our pilots, we're more selective than Harvard or Yale. The other thing that we also hold true is that we recognize that talent is everywhere. Talent is ubiquitous. What isn't is opportunity. And what we are changing is that access to opportunity. And we do that in a whole host of really remarkable ways. We work with great organizations like this one. We work with Sisters of the Sky, with the Latino Pilots Association, with the Professional Asian Pilots Association, and the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, just to name a few. We're not just growing how we attract and retain pilots, we're also thinking about how do we attract and retain technicians, the mechanics that you saw, Alejandra. Alejandra's amazing. She's unafraid, and she's changing the industry every day. We're creating pathways so that people can earn while they learn on the job. We know that we are better, we're stronger, we're more resilient, we're more innovative, the more diverse, the greater the representation in our ranks. And the best part of it all is that all this work is going to pay off for many generations. The work that we do today, we are setting it in motion so that 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, we can tell a different story. and I believe we will. I'm going to give you an example of someone I met a few months ago or a month ago. What is time? It's all one thing. We were working with an organization that really works with first-generation students, like many in the room. We know that that first job matters a lot for your career. That first job sets your whole career trajectory off, or it can derail you quite a bit. So we're working with these first-generation students, and I'm getting to know this young lady who's her second time going back to college. She's studying engineering. She lives in Chicago with her family because she's a young lady, and culturally that's what's expected. She does every day an over 1 hour drive to her college outside of the city, there and back. She supports herself by cleaning homes. That is someone that is going to run through a brick wall for anybody that is lucky enough to hire her. She's a Latina, she's unstoppable, she's amazing. That is the future. That is who we are fighting for. As I look around, I think about all the many times that we are rewiring our brains, all the many times we have to adapt to new change, whether it's taking that new job, asking for the new job, asking for the salary increase, seeking opportunity, creating opportunity. Now, before I finish, there's something I want to say. I often get asked, what advice do you have for me? And the simplest thing that I can say is, anytime you have the opportunity that someone, a mentor, a sponsor, someone is looking out for you, because we're all here because somebody else tapped us on the shoulder. Somebody saw something in us and said, you. And when they ask you, when you're in that coffee date, when you're in that meeting, and they say, what can I do for you? And our inclination is like, just keep me in mind. I have a better solution for you. Ask them to say your name in the rooms that you are not in. Here's what comes with that. It comes with a responsibility. It comes with the responsibility of giving them a reason to say your name. Say my name in the rooms that I am not, but I commit to giving you a reason to say my name. And in turn, also say other people's names. Because now we're all at these tables. We all have an opportunity to be in rooms. And it is our duty to remember to say those names. Now, I really believe that the future is in these young scholarship recipients. I am so intimidated and so impressed by all of you. And I'm really excited to see what you do. And as I shared with them, that to be a change maker is to be brave and scared at the same time. And to not be afraid of the word no, because often no just means not yet. No sometimes means find another door. No sometimes means I'll find another way in, or I'll seek another opportunity. But what it doesn't mean is give up. It means keep going. It means I will prove you wrong. It also means la pinche necesidad. You have to keep moving. Change isn't what happens to you, change is what you make. Change is what you do. So please embrace the change. Thank you.